Welcome back, and today we'll be talking about the basic concept of inheritance in C Sharp. So first of all, what is inheritance in C Sharp? In C Sharp, we have this OOP concept called inheritance. It allows us to build a parent and child relationship between classes. Meaning, if parents have some properties in the class, just look at it in real life. Your parent has some properties, and they're probably like they're willing it out, or they die or something, and you automatically inherit it, provided you are given access to it. That's what we call implementing. So same thing in C Sharp. We can have a base class, or you can call it parent class, with properties in it, which are the fields and the methods. So we can also have a base class, which is the child class, that can inherit the properties of the parent class and also implement it as well. I'll show you how it works. So basically, let's assume that we have a class. I'll make that public so it will be accessible. But if you don't put the public there, it's um, private by default. Public class. Let me put it like human. Okay. Okay, so of course, human, we have human has properties such as name. Let's assume that human has, of course, human has age. Okay, let's just leave it at that first. So we have to get the concept. Um, so let's also put a method in there. So a method that assumes, let's call the method like nationality, public void human nationality. Okay, and let's just put um, let's put a console statement in that, just so you see how it works. Okay, I am Chinese. Okay, so, or let's just put I am human, then we can have other classes that inherit. I am human by nature. Okay, what else can we have in there? Let's try and put a language in there, public void human language. Another statement in there. So the statement there can be like implementation in real life. You can have your method and implement it. But the idea is to see how we call method from a parent class to a child class. I do speak a language. So look at it this way. Human is a parent class, okay? And human, we have different nationalities, we have different languages. So what if I also create another class? Um, let's call that public class Chinese. And yes, we do know that Chinese are human. So now I need to inherit the properties of this human class. So it's pretty much simple using the column statement. That's like implementing the other class. So it gives me access to the human class, right? So in here, what I'll do is I'm trying to make use of this method in here, and I can just simply, even before going into using the method, what if I just go down here, notice that this Chinese class is pretty much empty, nothing is implemented in there. Okay, so let me just copy and paste, let me say the age and name, even without calling the method or using the method. So Chinese name, Chinese age. So even before calling the method, so let me try and instantiate that here. I'll call the class Chinese. c equal to new. That's instantiation, right? So recall that in this Chinese class I don't have any method in there, right? So, and I'm trying to have access to this method in here, and I've already inherited a human class, base class. So because I inherited it, let's see if this Chinese object can have access to the method in the human class. So c dot, did you see that? It gives me access to the method, right? C dot language. Okay. Let me try and print that out. Console dot write line. Okay, console dot write line. Then also print it out. There's no point putting it right now. Let's just put console dot read line. Read line. Sorry. Okay, so let's try and access that. Then also I'll also like to call the human nationality as well. Okay, so we start that, and it should give me the details in the human class, even though I'm running the Chinese base class, which is the child class. So I'm using the child class to call properties of the parent class, which is the human class. So in here, okay, the compiler is a little bit slow, but okay, it should come up now. So here I do speak a language. I am human by nature. So that's Chinese. Now, what if I want to have a property in the Chinese class, which is like a method in the Chinese class? So to save time, what I will do is let me just copy and paste this to here, and I'll edit it. So in here, I can just use something like Chinese. I probably wouldn't need to change this, but because we have this same method in here, so it's kind of hiding it. If you see what the compiler says, Chinese dot human nationality inherit member of human nationality, use the new keyword if hiding is intended. So because I want to hide, recall that the Chinese class is having access to this, but I want to hide the method in here. I want to implement the method in my own child class. So I can just use the new keyword here. Okay, and then I can put my implementation there. I am Chinese by nature. Here also I can use the new keyword to hide this same method in the parent class, and I can put my implementation here. I do speak Chinese. Okay, so let's see how that works. I do speak Chinese. I am Chinese by nature, right? Okay, so that is basically how it works. And I can also have other classes that as well inherit the human class itself. So probably like if I have another class, let me put that like African, also inheriting the human class, right? Human nature, I am African by nature. I am Nigerian by nature. I do speak Yoruba. Okay, so what if I try to instantiate the African class here? Let's try that. African A equal to new African, right? A dot human language, A dot human nationality. Okay, so I'll just place that on top here just to follow the sequence as in the code. Okay, and then console.readline. So I want to load this lazily. I mean, if I wanted to like print both details at once, I can run that and I'll have both the Chinese and African methods in there. So I am Chinese by nature, I do speak Chinese. I am Nigerian by nature, I do speak Yoruba. So this is pretty much eager loading, but I mean, that's, don't worry about eager loading and lazy loading now. That's pretty much high level, but we'll eventually get there. So if I want to like make it load up lazily, so it's, I will need to like you know press the keyword to get the next data. So I don't want to get the next information until I request for it, until I subscribe for it. So the first one is I am Chinese by nature, and if I press enter, it gives me I am Nigerian by nature, I speak Yoruba. So the idea is that a class in C Sharp, a class can have access to a parent class. So what if I have something like um let me see, I have something like I want to probably like have put a bank account on human details. So this is human nationality, right? This is human. So I want to create another class which is like public class bank details, right? So now in this class now, um this is also a base class. Remember, this is a base class, right? This is also a base class that I need to like put probably like public void human bank balance, okay, and probably another method like public void human deposit. I can have multiple method there like human deposit and withdraw. Now this same class, I needed to attach it to the details in the Chinese and African class, right? So that we can have access to their bank details and other things. But then it means that this other class will need to, this Chinese and African class will need to inherit these bank details too, so we can have access to this, right? And then what if I want to inherit the other bank details class and I try to inherit it like bank details? You did say that class Chinese cannot have multiple base class, human and bank details. So it means I cannot have multiple inheritance. I cannot inherit from two base class at a time. But I want to inherit because I need to use the details of those base class in there. So how do we go about that? In the next class, we'll be talking about interface and multiple inheritance. But until then, just put this into practice and understand how this is like so basic inheritance. There's a lot we can do with inheritance, but I'm trying to ensure that you understand the basics first before we dive deeply into it. So try to understand this concept first, and then which pops the question, I want to have access to other base class, okay, and then I'm kind of restricted from using this bank details base class as well. So in the next class, we'll talk about how we can do multiple inheritance in C# and the use of interface. So don't forget to subscribe to this channel, share and like this video, and I'll see you in the next class. Thank you.